Yeah, this is Gaurav. Yeah, Krishna, can you mute everybody?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just share my screen. Okay, let me know once you're able to see the screen. Just write on the chat screen. Yes. Okay. Okay. Hello all. This is Gaurav, and as you know, we are here today for just to provide you the overview of what exactly this course is all about. And we already started off with this course in the last week itself, and we just completed one session. So the intention of this particular session will be to just provide you an overview of the course plus whatever topics we have covered in the last week. Okay, so let me just introduce myself first of all. As I told you, my name is Gaurav and I am into SAP from last 12 years. Over these 12 years, I worked on different roles. So I started my career as a consultant and then I moved into the senior roles, and currently I am responsible as a in some of the projects I'm working as a project manager, and parallelly I'm also taking care of SAP S4HANA offerings. Okay, so just talking about this SAP S4HANA logistics. So this is the official name of the course that we are going to talk about. It is SAP S4HANA Logistics. Now, what exactly is SAP S4HANA Logistics? So, SAP has introduced a new product. What do you mean by new product? Do you mean that it is separate from ERP? No, not at all. We are all working with SAP from last many years, so we must be working on either, let's say, 4.7, 6.0, EHP 0, EHP 1, 2, 3, up to 7. Any of these different versions we are already working. So this is not a completely new thing. What SAP has tried to do is they have tried to copy most of the functionalities from the standard SAP what we were using till today, but they have tried to simplify the product by adding some new functionalities or by making some of the functionalities as simple. So it is not like this is a completely new product. Majority of the things are coming from the original ERPs that we were using till now, but there are a lot of new benefits, and that is the reason they are not saying that this is a new version of SAP. Officially, they are saying this is a completely new product, because there are a lot of new things which you will find in terms of the user friendliness, in terms of the speed, and that is the reason they are not calling it as a new version of SAP. They are calling it as a completely new product called as SAP S4HANA. Now within SAP S4HANA, similar to normal SAP, we have different kind of processes. So you must be knowing in ECC we had finance, we have MM, we have SD, we have PP. Similarly, all these modules are simplified into SAP S4HANA. So there are simplifications available from the finance point of view. There are simplifications available from materials management, sales and distribution, production planning. But why we are saying that this course is SAP Simple Logistics? Because we are not going to concentrate on any particular module. We are not restricting ourselves to understand what has been changed from MM point of view. We are trying to cover most of the logistics processes, which means in this course, we are going to talk about what has been changed from MM point of view, what has been changed from SD point of view, and finally, what has been changed from PP point of view. Okay, so these are the three core modules that we are going to talk about how they are changed. And most of the things, whatever are changed from MM, SD and PP point of view, I'll give you the complete idea of whatever the topics that we are going to cover. But before coming to that, most of the things we are going to talk about in practical. So I'll be showing you the system in which whatever new things have come, or maybe whatever the original things are simplified, how they are simplified, how will they look like, how are you going to configure, how are you going to do the transactions, how are you going to see the reports, all these things we'll be seeing in detail. But before touching upon the changes in MM, SD and PP, it is also very important for us to understand what exactly is SAP S4HANA. So theoretically, we need to understand how SAP S4HANA is better than the traditional ERP. How SAP HANA is better than the traditional database. So our first 3 or 4 sessions will concentrate on basics of SAP HANA, basics of SAP S4HANA, and there is another important topic called as SAP Activate methodology. So till now, till years, we were using the SAP methodology, if you know, right? We were using SAP methodology till now in each and every project that we were implementing. But now that SAP has been completely replaced with a new methodology called as Activate. So the phases are different, the activities that you need to do or carry out in each phase has been changed. So we are going to talk about the SAP Activate methodology phases and how it is different than the SAP methodology. So this is what we are going to talk about in first 4 sessions. Once we complete this, then we'll come to our main topic. That is, we'll take one by one. We'll talk about MM, what has been changed from master data point of view, what has been changed from the processes point of view, configuration point of view, all these things we'll start with MM. Then we'll proceed to SD, and finally within PP we'll be talking about MRP line. And once we complete all these topics, then we will go to the conversion part. So conversion means what? Basically you will land up in 2 kind of projects. One is the completely new implementation where the customer is not using SAP at all. On the second hand, we may end up in a project which is called as a migration project, which means customer is already using SAP and he is now interested in moving on to SAP S4HANA. Right, so these are the 2 kind of projects that we are going to discuss. So once we complete upon what has been changed from MM, SD and PP point of view, we'll be talking about how we need to carry out a conversion project. What are the phases in the conversion project? Who will be responsible? What are the activities involved? And how are you going to perform the complete migration from SAP ECC to SAP S4? What are the tools provided by SAP? We'll be talking about all these tools in the conversion sessions. So this is about the course. Okay, now maybe I'll just unmute all of you before I proceed towards talking about the first session. If you have any doubts, you can just ask your questions. So just give me a minute. Now all of you are unmuted from my side. You need to request to all, please mute yourself from your side if you don't have any question. If you only have question, then only unmute yourself. Yes, Ashutosh, do you have any question?
Yeah, I was waiting actually for others to ask. So in case if no one has a question, then I just wanted to check, as you mentioned, that you will be covering MMPP and SD in this course, right?
Yes.
So, means my actually personal interest was basically to see how, anyway, WM is also mapped in S4HANA probably, or EWM or whatever you call. So is it possible for you to cover some basic things like at least about the modules, like how they basically are mapped, and later on when we get a chance to practice, then is it possible for me personally to do something on WM side so that this thing gets in S4HANA, or the configuration itself won't be there?
Yeah. See, Ashutosh, when we started off this trainings, we started off with 1511, right? In 1511, there were no changes in WM. WM, EWM were used as it is. A request to all, please mute yourself. There is a lot of background noise. Yeah, please mute yourself. And if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself. Yeah, Ramakrishna, I just muted you. There was a lot of background noise. If you have any question, you can just ask. I'll unmute you. Yes, coming to the question of Ashutosh. So Ashutosh, in 1511, there was no change from the WM point of view and EWM point of view. But now, when SAP has came up with 1610, there is one important thing that which was being told from 1511, that most of the functionalities which are available in EWM. So normally we were using EWM independent of our ECC system, which was a separate installation. But now even EWM component has been also introduced directly into SAP S4HANA. So some of the functionalities that you were able to do in EWM, the only change is that you can directly do in the same system rather than going on to the separate EWM system. So this is the only thing as of now which has been changed, that too only in 1610. So I'll be giving you the overview of what exactly has been added into 1610 component, 1610 version. Okay, but apart from that, from the functionality point of view, from the configuration point of view, nothing has been changed. So if you are already working on EWM, it will not make any sense for you to like going through what has been changed into EWM, because you will be only getting, okay, these are the transactions which we are doing till now in the separate installation. Now they will be directly available on S4. But from the process point of view, simplification point of view, as of now, there are no simplifications in EWM.
Okay. So this training basically is on 1610, right?
Yes, this training will be on 1610, and it is not only on 1610, because it may happen that when you go for the project, customer not necessarily has selected 1610, maybe the project is already started on 1511 and you are entering into the between of the project. So that is the reason we have both the systems with us. We have 1511 also and 1610 also. So what I'm going to do, whatever things are common in both the systems, I'll be showing you directly in 1610. But if there are some things which are not available in 1511, they are now available in 1610. So I'll be highlighting that and I'll be showing you in 1511 also, so that if you land up in 1511, you know, okay, in 1511 this is like this, while in 1610 this will be different. So you'll be getting the idea of both 1511 as well as 1610.
But at the same time, we will have our user IDs created in both the systems for our hand-on practice sessions, right?
That is actually not required, because if you give you 1610, I don't think any need of giving the access of 1511 to you. But at the same time, if you are interested for some time, let's say 15 days, 20 days, you can always ask Krishna and he can create an ID for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, I think when we proceed, probably I think I'll ask questions later, because I was interested in knowing some other things also, but that's okay. I think let's go with the flow.
Sure. Yeah, just before going further, anyone else has any question, or you want me to process with the first session that we had? Okay, if you have questions, please mute yourself, or you can directly type on the chat screen. Okay, no issues. I think there are no questions, so let's proceed. So what I'll suggest is, I'll definitely take this session, but at the same time, if you want, it will be good for you if you ask Krishna. He'll be sharing the session that we had last week. Okay, so I'll suggest to go through that video also once. Okay, and because see, when there are a lot of people on the call, they have their own set of questions. So it will help you in uh, like not only whatever I'm talking about, but you might have some questions which are answered already in that session. So let me just proceed with this session today, but at the same time, it is my request to, after completion of this, you ask Krishna to provide you the video recording of the last session. Just go through it before coming to the tomorrow's class. Yeah. So now we started off with SAP HANA. As I told you, if I directly go with SAP S4HANA, there is no harm, definitely no harm. But normally what happens, according to my experience, wherever I go for any SAP S4HANA project, the customer doesn't know the difference. Even there are many consultants in the market, they don't know the difference between SAP HANA and SAP S4HANA. So just for example, you are in front of your customer and your customer is saying, okay, yes, you came here for SAP HANA. He will not say SAP S4HANA. Like it is confusing for him. So he may say SAP HANA or SAP S4HANA. So you are here for SAP, let's say S4HANA implementation. Can you tell me what are the benefits of SAP HANA over the traditional databases like we were using Oracle earlier? So normally as a functional consultant, we don't need to enter or dig into the functionalities of SAP HANA. We don't need to understand from the development point of view. But at least we should have a basic knowledge of how SAP HANA is better than the traditional database. Because if you directly tell them to the customer that, oh, SAP HANA is a technical thing, but I am supporting SAP S4HANA, that will create a wrong image for you. So that is the reason you should have at least a simple answer to the customer that, okay, SAP HANA is a completely new database which is developed by SAP, and these are one or two benefits of SAP HANA which were never available in the traditional databases. Now, I think if you have heard the term SAP HANA, you must have also heard the terms which are related to it. Like, what is SAP HANA? A simple answer is in-memory computing or in-memory platform. So this is very common. If you ask someone what is SAP HANA, it is an in-memory database, it is in-memory computing, it is in-memory platform. But what exactly is meaning of in-memory? What exactly do you mean by in-memory? Okay, so these are some of the things which I want to highlight here. You may come across the term called as column-based data storage. SAP HANA is column-based data storage. So what exactly is that? Ramakrishna, do you have any question? There is some background noise.
No, Gaurav, yeah, please continue.
Okay, I'll just mute you. Yeah, I just muted you. Okay, so let me just take you to that particular things which will help you to understand the basics of SAP HANA. Now, before I talk about SAP HANA, let us all try to understand what was the case when SAP HANA was not available. Now, most of you, as of today also, I think many few of you might be working on SAP HANA as of today. Most of you are working on the traditional database. So you are supporting, let's say, SAP ECC, either 4.7 or 6.0 on, let's say, which is developed on Oracle database or SQL Server database. So what are the problems there? So let's say, for example, if I ask you, you are the consultants who are working with SAP from last many years. If I ask you, how do you find SAP? I think most of you will agree that it is a best product available, best ERP product available in the market. But after working all these years, we already know some of the drawbacks of SAP. Some of the, I'll not say drawbacks, but some of the things which where the improvement is required. So first thing that you will tell is, although SAP is very good, it is a very much integrated. It gives you end-to-end processes. But when it comes to the speeds of the reports are very slow, especially the Z reports that you create. So what is the reason? Why the SAP reports are slow? I think this is the first point which comes to your mind when you think about SAP. Even customers complain the same thing, that it is very good software, it is giving us all the processes, but the speed is a challenge. And day to day, you know now the data is keeping on increasing. Okay, so it is not like the earlier days when there were only few transactions which are happening in the system. Nowadays, there are a lot of transactions which are happening. Everybody is talking about Internet of Things, big data. So what do you mean by this? So these are all the environmental conditions which are going to increase your database size. And you must agree that when the database size will keep on increasing, your reports will even become slow. Why? Because whenever you are performing the reporting, it is going into the database, it is selecting the data from there. So more the data, the slower will be the reporting. And that is exactly what SAP was getting the feedback from the customers. They were saying the reportings are very slow. Now why the reportings were slow? Because the traditional databases that we were using, Oracle, SQL Server, they were storing the data in the secondary data storages. For example, this Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, they were all developed around 20 years back. I'm not saying the development has not been done. There are a lot of developments which were done, but the first version, they were developed around 15, 20 years back. And at that time, you must agree that the memory, the RAM was not available as it is available today. Today, even a small mobile device, you know, has a good amount of RAM in it. This was not possible 5-10 years back. So what has happened during this time is RAM has become very cheap. Now everybody can afford good amount of RAM. And you must be also knowing that basically there are two types of storages, memories. One is RAM and other is a secondary storage. So for example, currently if you are in front of your computer or laptop, let's say in my laptop I opened this PPT. Now till the time I will work on this PPT, this will be available in my RAM because I am performing some changes. Okay, but as soon as I save it and close it, it will go and get dumped at the hard disk. So what do you mean? Whenever I want to do any transaction, I need to pull the data from hard disk to the RAM, perform the transaction and save it back to the hard disk. So what is happening? It is taking too much of time. Every time I want to do a transaction, pick the data into the RAM and save it back to the hard disk. Now what if the RAM is available very cheap, why not to use RAM directly instead of hard disk? Why to bring the data from hard disk and again saving it to the back to the hard disk? That is exactly what SAP means in terms of in-memory computing, which means the data will be directly available in RAM. So whenever you are performing the reporting or whenever you are performing the transactions, the data is not coming from hard disk because it takes time to bring that data into RAM. Now the data is already going to be available in RAM, which will provide you a better speed. So this is the first benefit of SAP HANA, that SAP HANA is an in-memory database, which means the data will be directly available in the RAM, which will save the time which the old databases were taking because they were picking the data from hard disk and again saving it back to the hard disk. So talking about the first two points. So old databases, they were designed to perform well on computer with limited RAM. There was limitation of RAM in older days. Okay, and that is the reason the data was getting stored in the hard disk. Coming to the third point, complex data model, which means today, if I ask you to write a functional specification, FS, for a particular report, what you will do? You will start from first main table. From first table, you will try to bring the data from the second table. So you'll create a relation between them, right? Again, you will go for third table to pick some columns, fourth table to pick some columns. Why you are doing this? Because all the data is segregated. The data is not available at one common place. There are different tables for different kind of data. That is the reason you need to copy one information from one table, then go to second table to pick second information, then to third, then to fourth. So what is happening? Even you as a functional consultant, you need to invest lot of time because you need to create lot of relations. From the system point of view, whenever you execute this query, whenever you execute this report, what will happen in the background? Again, the same thing will happen. It will go to the first table, then through relation, it will try to get the data from second table. So we are wasting lot of time. Forget from our point of view, from the system point of view, system is keeping on jumping between different tables, which is taking time to extract the data. So what is the solution? Solution can be try to reduce the number of tables. Try to make sure that most of the common data is available at one place. But why now? Why SAP has not thought this before? Why in traditional ECC system, why it is not possible to store the data at one place? The reason is the traditional databases doesn't support that. For example, today if I am having 4 different tables, okay, and at a particular point I want to have a data only from one table. So during that time, that will be very fast. But if I combine all the data in one table in traditional database, so every user will try to pick the data from one table, which will impact the performance of that particular table. That is the reason SAP has segregated the data into different tables as of now, so that it should not happen that all the users are trying to access the same table, because my old database was not supporting that. But now with SAP HANA, the power of SAP HANA, the power of in-memory computing, it is now possible that keep the data at one common place. Even if thousands of users are trying to get the same data, there will be no performance issue. Why? Because SAP HANA is providing the speed. How? Through in-memory. So in short, because of these first 2 points, we are also getting the simplified data model, which means most of the tables will be combined and the number of tables will come down. Okay, but this is not possible directly on SAP HANA. This is a property of SAP S4HANA. So we'll talk about that. What is HANA and SAP S4HANA? Once you understand HANA, I'll tell you how you can differentiate between these 2 terms. There is a question on the chat screen. Let me just answer that before I proceed to the next point. Ashutosh is asking, what is the maximum record length which can be stored in ECC? What do you mean by maximum record length? Ashutosh, I don't think there is any restriction on the length. Only thing is, if I give you the example, let's say, if you are a person with limited memory, if I give you the information of 4 different bus routes, okay, and for each and every person, I will ask them that go to this person and he will give you complete information. So it is possible that because every person is coming to you, it is difficult for you to remember everything at the same time serving everyone, because your memory is limited. But at the same time, if I keep 4 different persons for single route at a time, the number of persons per so it will be the number of persons will be reduced to the particular person. At the same time, it will be easy for you to remember only one bus route. And that is the reason in traditional database, this concept was used, because the performance was limited. But now with power of SAP HANA with in-memory, it is now possible that a single person can handle multiple queries at the same time. So this is just an example. So this is how SAP HANA will make sure that less number of tables, which most of the data is available at one common place. Okay, Ashutosh, I will just unmute you. Just let me just complete this 1 or 2 points. Coming to the 4th point, that is redundancy of data and need of aggregations. So currently, as I told you, what is happening, same data is getting stored at different places. Same data means For example, let's say, as I told you, 4 different tables are storing part information. So complete information is not available at one common place. So what is happening, because of these 4 tables, there is some data which is getting repeated in each and every table. So that is called as redundancy. So whatever data can be stored at one place, now it is being stored at multiple places. So that is the reason. What is redundancy means? Repetition. So it is like, if in your mobile device, if you are storing the song, okay, so if you store the song multiple times, it is definitely going to consume more memory. So if the size of the one song is 5 MB, for example, if you store that song again, it will consume 10 MB of your memory. And that is exactly what is happening in the traditional databases. There is a lot of data which is getting redundant, repetition. So unnecessarily your memory is getting consumed, which should be brought down. Okay, we have some examples. We'll talk about this when we talk about some of the tables. If I give you the examples now, it will not make sense because you need to understand how this table works in SAP. So because there is redundancy of data, there is high data footprint. So more and more data is getting accumulated on day-to-day basis. Okay, some of the data is useful, some of the data is just a repetition. And the most important point, row-based data storage. For this, it will be good if I just open the Excel sheet and show it to you. It will make this topic easy. Just give me a minute. Let me just start the Excel sheet. Okay, let me just know once you're able to see the Excel. Can you see now? Can you see now? Yes, okay. So for example, I'm just trying to make you understand what is the difference between row-based data storage and column-based data storage. So for example, there is one table called as employee table, which has 4 columns. Let's say employee ID, employee name, okay, year of birth, and year of joining the company. So let's say my employee ID is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And names are A, B, C, D. Year of birth, let's say, is 1975, 1980, 1978, and let's say 1979. Okay, and let's say year of joining the company is 2010, 2015, 2008, and 2014. Simple table. Now, if I ask you, what do you understand by table? What is a table? I think most of the answers will be table is nothing but a combination of rows and columns. Combination of rows and columns is called as a table. So this is my row and these are my columns. Okay, so table is nothing but a combination of row and column. This we understand from the layman point of view. But actually in background, the data is not stored in the form of rows and columns. Data is stored only in the form of row or in the form of column. I'll give you the example. So what do you mean by row-based data storage? This is row-based. How this data will be stored in background if it is stored in the form of row-based. So one row will be one record. 1A, 1975 and 2010. So this is how the data will be stored. There will be any separator and it will get stored in this way. Similarly, second will be 2B 1980 and 2015. Third will be 3-C-1978 colon 2008. And finally 4D 1979 and 2014. So this is how the data will be stored in the background if it is stored in the form of row-based data storage. Now let's take an example of column-based. How column-based data is stored. So one column will be one record. So it will be like 1, 2, 3 and 4. A, B, C and D. 1975, 1980, 1978 and 1979. And finally 2010, 2015, 2008 and 2014. Now I given you the example of both, how the row-based data is stored and how the column-based data is stored. Now the big question, why we are understanding this? From our point of view, we know that data is getting stored in the form of rows and columns. Okay, but why we are worried about whether internally it is getting stored in row-based or column-based? We are trying to understand because the traditional databases we are using this approach. So if I talk about the traditional databases that we were using till now, they were only supporting row-based data storage. This was not supported. Again, even if it was not supported, what is the difference? The difference is if I want to perform the report, select star or select employee ID from table employee where year of joining is equal to 2010. A very simple query, right? What it is trying to extract, it is just trying to extract the employee ID where the year of joining is 2010. Now in this query, I am just talking about these two columns. I am trying to extract this based on this. There is no role of these two columns at all. Okay, this is a normal scenario. This is a day-to-day scenario, right? There are many tables in SAP which have more than 100 columns. And normally when we perform reporting, we only consider, let's say, around 10 columns out of 100. But even after that, if I perform the same report, what will happen is in the database, it will go and it will scan the complete record. It will not skip these two columns. These two columns also will be scanned. Okay, so what is happening? Even if I'm not worried about these two columns, but still they are getting scanned and they are consuming time. So it will be good if only these two columns are scanned rather than all these columns. So out of 100 columns, if I'm only worried about 10 columns, then also in SAP ECC, it is scanning all the 100 columns. That is the reason it is taking time. That is the problem with row-based data storage. Then what is the solution? The solution is column-based. Why? Because now if I'm just worried about these two columns, this two can be ignored completely. So it will just go with this column and it will go to this column. This will not consider these two columns at all during the scanning. And that is the another reason why your reports will become faster. Okay, so one is because it is in-memory computing, the data is directly available in RAM. You don't need to waste the time to go onto the hard disk and bring the data again. And second is because the data is stored in the form of columns now, it will be easier for system to give the records faster, perform the reporting faster. But there is another one pick here. If I store only in column based, what will happen? If I add a new column, if I add a new record here, 5E 1980 and 2013, for example. Now what will happen in this case? In this case, it will be easier if I follow row based because it will just come and add another record. It will be very easy for the system to do this. It will not touch the existing lines at all. Okay, but on the other hand, for storing the same data in the form of columns, it will be the huge task because it needs to update each and every record which is available, each and every column which is available. And that is the reason column-based data storage is only faster in terms of reporting. For transaction processing, row-based data storage is faster compared to column-based data storage. So there is a definite advantage of both. Row-based is good for transactions, column-based is good for reporting. So in SAP HANA, when we are saying that column-based data storage is supported, it doesn't mean that only reportings will become faster and transactions will become slower. Then it will not make any sense. And that is the reason SAP HANA supports both row-based as well as column-based. So traditional databases were supporting only row-based, but SAP HANA supports both row-based as well as column-based. So the data will be stored in both the forms. Okay, which means that if I am using 10 GB of memory to store the data in the form of row-based, I will need 10 GB of data to store in the column-based. So ultimately, I am doubling my memory. Do you think this is logical? If I store the same data in both the forms and consume double the memory, this will not make any sense. And that is the reason this column-based data storage is stored in the compressed form. What do you mean by compressed now? Compressed means it will not take the complete, it will not store the complete data, it will store the complete data, but it will compress the data and it will use only 10%, around 10% of the memory. So in totality, it will be only 11 GB. It will not be the double of memory. Okay. So what do you understand from this? We understand that in traditional databases, the data was stored in the form of rows only. That is the reason the reportings were slower, because they were scanning the complete records. Even if the columns are not involved, it was getting scanned. While in SAP HANA supports both row-based as well as column-based data storage, due to which the reporting part will be done faster because it will skip the columns which are not provided in the query. Okay. At the same time, SAP HANA supports both row as well as column. Row for transaction processing, column for reporting. And whatever data is stored in the form of columns, it is going to be in the compressed form, okay, so that it should not double the memory space. Okay, let me just go back to our PPT again. So now you understand that traditional databases we are using row-based data storage. That is the reason slower reporting. The reportings were slower. Why I have written the transactions were also slower? Because, as I told you, complex data model. Whenever you do a transaction, let's say if there are 10 tables which are getting updated in the background, obviously the amount of time required to perform the transactions will go up. If I try to bring the tables, number of tables to minimum, let's say if I remove 7 tables and only keep 3 tables with me, what will happen is automatically the amount of time required to perform the transaction will also come down. Okay, so that is the reason in the traditional databases, the transaction processing was also slower because there were multiple tables which were updated in background. And obviously we talked about reporting. Reporting was slow because the data was stored in the form of rows. So with all these points, the traditional ECC system was providing us a reactive business model. It was providing us the reportings only after everything is done, because normally we were not carrying out the reporting in the mid of the month or mid of the day, because if I carry out a reporting, it will become slow. At the same time, my transactions were getting affected. So the users were normally doing the reporting part only after the things are done. But now With SAP HANA, because your reportings will be faster, because you are using in-memory computing and all, you can perform your reporting during the day, during the month, whenever you want, so you can take the reactive actions. That is exactly what you'll find in the next slide, which is what you are going to achieve in SAP HANA. So SAP HANA is designed for in-memory computing, which means the data will be directly available or data will be directly stored in RAM. Simplified data model, less number of tables, most of the columns or most of the data will be available in one common table. Removed redundancy, wherever possible, wherever the data was getting repeatedly stored, that will come down, which will ultimately result in less data footprint. Okay, so less data means less price you need to incur, right? For example, if I ask you in your mobile, if you are storing 10 GB or if you are having the memory of 10 GB, out of that, if you already consume 10 GB, what you need to do? Either you need to bring some new memory in, or you need to increase your memory size in your mobile, so that involves the cost, right? But what if I provide you the solution, automatically all the data will remain as it is in your mobile, but in the compressed form, and that will bring down your current memory consumption to 3 GB. So you'll get 7 GB more, which will reduce your cost, right? So less data footprint is always good from the cost point of view. At the same time, if the data is less in the system, automatically the speed will be achieved, because you need to carry out your reporting from the less data which is stored in the database. Okay, so with all these points, SAP HANA is providing you around 1800 times faster processing. This is a rough figure which is provided by SAP based on the implementations that they have done. And finally, as I told you, that is the reason you are getting the proactive business model, which means you can perform your reportings whenever you want. You can take the corrective actions. Rather than corrective, I should say preventive actions. Corrective you are taking in the last slide. So whatever has been done, you are just making it corrective. But if you are in the proactive mode, you are taking the preventive decisions. Okay, so in short, SAP HANA permits OLTP and OLAP. What do you mean by TP and AP? It is transactions and reporting. OLTP is online transaction processing and OLAP is online analytical processing. So you are getting the speed in both. With the common platform by storing the data in high speed memory, which is RAM, organizing it in columns, okay? And due to this delivers faster query processing, which process or aggregates the data efficiently. Okay, so just the key takeaways. If somebody asks you what is SAP HANA, you should be able to answer these 2-3 points. First is it performs in-memory computing, which means the data is directly stored in RAM. So you can save the time to, instead of bringing the data from hard disk, you can directly store the data in RAM. Second is it stores the data in the column-based data storage, okay? And third is, you can say the simplification in the data model, less number of tables in the background, which will help you in performing your reports faster. Okay? So this is what we covered in our first session. I will just go through your chats if there is any question. I don't think there is any question. Let me just unmute. Just a minute. Yeah, Ashutosh. Ashutosh, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Gaurav, so my earlier question basically was that is there any maximum record length which is stored in a SAP table? Like basically a record has a maximum number of bytes which it can store, right?
No, I don't think
That's
so.
my assumption.
No. I don't think there is any restriction to that.
So why I'm asking, because let's say which is the biggest table in SAP on the top of your head, maybe regardless of which module and all that, maybe an MSEG or maybe a DSEG, I'm assuming that. In ECC. So if we count the number of bytes basically for a record, how much does it correspond to? Means whether it will be 1024 bytes, 2024, 5000 bytes, I'm not sure, I'm just asking. So was that the reason that why SAP came up with this sort of a framework where everything can be stored in one table so that the querying and reporting and all those things can be faster? But that was just from the top of my head. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense. Maybe I think when we go back, probably we can count the number of bytes which basically can be stored in a record and see if it is less than 1024.
No. I don't think there is any data limit restriction to store in the table. I'll give you the example as you told the example of BSEG and MSEG. Why we are trying to bring everything at one place. Let's take an example of simple MKPF and MSEG, right? So MKPF is storing the header and MSEG is storing the line level information. Now, very good example. It will clarify all your doubts. So MKPF and MSEG. What is happening whenever I am doing the transaction, some data is getting stored in MKPF and some data is getting stored in MSEG. Now, whenever I want the information, most of the time I need both these tables because MKPF is not storing the complete data. MSEG is also not storing the complete data. So whenever I want to have some information, I need to touch this both tables. So I need to create a relationship between these two tables by having the common keys, right? So what is happening due to that, my reporting time is slower because every time first it is going to MSEG, then it is going to MKPF to pick some columns from there. At the same time, why SAP has not thought of dividing these two tables earlier itself? Why MKPF, why the header information is stored separately and line information is stored separately? Just to make sure that if somebody has a question only at the header level, he can be directed at one place. And if somebody has a need the information at the line level, he should be redirected at a second place so that one table should not have much queries which are happening at the same time. So both can work independently rather than creating a too much of load on a same table, because the traditional database was very slow. And if you keep all the information at one place, it was not very responsive. But now with SAP S4HANA, I'll not say HANA, I'll tell you why. If I talk about SAP S4HANA, the data whatever is stored in MKPF, whatever data is stored in MSEG, they are now consolidated in one table, that is MAT-DOC. So MAT-DOC will hold the data from MKPF, from MSEG, not only that, from many other tables also, at one common location.
Right.
Why? Because the power of SAP HANA is there, which means even the thousands of users are trying to get the data from one table, MAT-DOC, it will perform that it will perform that calculations faster and it will give you the faster results. So this is the power of SAP HANA.
So in this case, the question of redundancy doesn't come because in the mat.doc table you are storing the document type and
exactly. Exactly. So if I talk about MKPF and MSEG, there are many fields which are coming in both. Right? Like for example, document number, document year, these are some of the fields which you will find in both the tables. So this is redundancy. Same information you are keeping here also and there also. This is just an example. There are a lot of tables which are only storing the redundancy, nothing else. Got the point, Ashutosh?
Yeah, no, I got the point, but anyway, I'll go back again, check the record length part because I need to do something more on that. Okay, so okay. Does anyone else also have a question, because I want to hear from them also. It is just me only who is doing the talking right now.
Okay, just a minute. Anybody else has any question? You are all unmuted from my side. You just need to unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. Ashutosh, I think you can go ahead if you have something, because others, I don't think they have.
Okay, so the other thing which I wanted to check with you basically regarding your S4HANA implementation experiences, like have you been associated with any live projects or mostly it is conference room pilot which you have done? Because it is at such a stage where basically a customer wants to do only a conference room pilot just to get a feel, and then later on they want to go ahead with that, because I'm also associated with some new SAP product as such. So at this stage, basically the customer wants to do a conference room pilot, get a feel of it, and then they want to go ahead later. So have you been associated with any live S4HANA simple logistics implementations? Because there are very few which are going on, right, as such.
Right, right. No, Ashutosh, fortunately, I got the chance to work on the live projects also. At the same time, I'm keeping, let me just share I also started on POCs, whatever you're saying, conference room pilots. So I started with that, and I started into SAP S4 even when the logistics hasn't came. So I started with simple finance also, because whatever, so we have done some POCs on simple finance first and then on simple logistics. And even if I talk from my company point of view, already have 3 projects as of now. So one we completed, the complete migration was there on 1511. And second project that is currently also we are doing is 1511 implementation. It is a completely fresh implementation. And third we just got, it is on the migration to 1610. So these are the 3 projects which I'm working from my company point of view. But other than that, as I told you, I'm associated with these trainings from last 1 year now. And what is happening in this is I'm also getting the exposure from the students' point of view. So just take an example of you. So you are, as you said, you must be associated in one of the project. So definitely at some point of time, you will also like want to share with me how the things went. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me so that we can. At the same time, we also got some corporate trainings. During the corporate trainings, it was also our, like I have taken this as a freelancer as a responsibility to help them in their own project. So like this, I have worked on more than 5 projects as of now.
Okay, that's nice. So what is the traction of simple logistics as such in the market, maybe in India?
It is definitely good. See, what is happening is at least the customers who are now going for SAP, they will definitely go for SAP S4 because there is no point in going with the ECC as of today and after 2 years again migrate to SAP S4. So the new customers are directly going to SAP S4. From the old customers point of view, in India, if I talk about, I have not worked directly on any project, but POCs, yes, there are many POCs which are going on. So whatever clients I have worked on, they are basically from US or Europe. But from India point of view, there are some examples which I can give you, like I think Asian Paints you must have heard about. They were the first to go with 1511. And there are some other companies also, small companies also, which are going for SAP nowadays. They are directly going for 1511.
Okay, so what's the typical migration timeline for a existing SAP shop to come into S4HANA? Let's say
there are a lot of factors. So for example, what version you are using today, whether you are already on SAP HANA or not, okay, how much is your database size? These are all factors that you need to consider. But if I give you the example, if a very small company only 2 years back they implemented SAP, for example, and let's say they are already on SAP HANA, this is just an example. So in that case, it will be really simple project and which will not take you more than 6 months. But on the other hand, if a customer is using, let's say, ECC, and let's say he's using from, let's say, 4.7 till now, okay, and the data is more than 10, 15 years old, in that case, definitely you need to take a step-by-step approach, which can go beyond 1.5 year.
So from 4.7, can they straight away jump to S4HANA or they have to first do a sort of a
no, from, yeah, no, from 4.7, you need to first come to 6.0, any EHP.
Right. So at any support pack level?
Any support pack level. ECC 6.0, starting with EHP 0 to EHP 7, anything is okay.
Okay. Okay. So that's nice. That's cool. Okay. So in the US, you are seeing that there are some customers basically who are associated with live projects, or it's again POC? I probably missed that part.
No. There are many live projects which are going as of now.
Because what I know, basically, it was mainly Caterpillar probably which was doing it. But that's what I know, at least as of now.
No, you must be knowing about the big companies, but we normally don't look at the small companies. There are many small companies which are also going for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you were referring that yesterday probably there was a session, or last week there was a session which is already there. So you think that I'm going to join that particular group or batch? Is that what you are saying?
Yes. We started not last week, last week, because last week I was not available. So we'll be having the second session starting from tomorrow.
Okay, so the first session basically I'm assuming was not a demo session, it was a live session as such, right?
Yes. It was a live session.
No,
Whatever we
because
discussed now, it was discussed in that session.
because I thought probably you said that I'll have to probably go through that particular recording, and so that at least I am in tune with whatever has happened till now, right?
Yes. So the reason why I told you is now very few guys have joined who were not available last week. So last week we had a very big session, I think 1.5 hours. And even the demo, if you want to go through completely, you can just go through that. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in tomorrow's session.
So you mean last week? Last week you said you are not available, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So regarding that, now these training materials and certification, do you have some time to talk? Let's say 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes. Go ahead.
So as far as the training material goes, I'm assuming there is some SAP Partner Academy material which probably you might have attended, or are you going to share that, or like how is it going to be? Apart
See,
from
from
SAP traditional help.
yes. See, that thing you need to check with Krishna because he is going to give you the study material. From my side, I have created a PPT which I'm sharing now. So this
Okay.
PPT is coming from all the different kind of materials. It is also the configuration point of view, also all the screenshots you'll find in this PPT. So this is what I'm providing, but the certification materials you just need to check with Krishna. I think it is provided, but safer side you just check with him.
So Krishna, is he there on this call, or there is a separate email ID which I have to correspond with?
Sana, Krishna, both are available actually, but Sana, Krishna, can you just comment on this?
No, that's okay. So there is an email from Sana, it seems. I haven't checked my email. I'll take a look.
Yes,
That's fine.
you can check it.
Yeah. So on the certification, so is there any like certification as for HANA Simple Logistics, or SAP still doesn't have that?
As of now, it is still not available, but it is planned in next 1 or 2 months.
Okay. So you are certified in S4HANA for Simple Finance?
No. There is no point in going for simple finance because I'm a logistics consultant.
No, I thought you were a finance guy who moved to logistics. No?
No. I'm actually, I was working as a solution architect. So it was like all the modules integrated, and also, as I told you last, what I'm doing currently is project management. So there is no point in going for the functional certification as of now, but let's see in the future. So I'm just waiting for logistics because the most of the things, like as I told you, SAP HANA, as for basics, these are common in both. This you will find in simple finance also and logistics also.
So how different is account determination now in S4HANA as compared to ECC?
Account determination has not been changed. Only there is one change in terms of COPA. When you do the PGI for COPA, normally when you, are you from SD background?
I'm from MM.
Okay. So normally what happens when you do the PGI from SD, at that time your COPA documents gets generated. The COGS gets posted.
Yeah, but that also gets generated at the time of an MM account also, right? When you post a goods receipt, let's say. So why only goods issue? That means a COPA document will get generated, right?
Yes. So no. So what I mean is, from MM point of view, if I talk about OBYC, there is not a major change. It is OBYC is still available and account determination will be as it is. But
okay.
At the time of PGI, normally it is this COGS account normally comes from OBYC itself. But earlier there was only one GL which comes from PGI. COGS was not splitted. But now, in from COPA point of view, there is a new functionality which came into Simple Finance, which will allow you to segregate your COGS into multiple accounts. So that is only one configuration which has been changed from the integration of account determination point of view. Otherwise, most of the things are same.
How about material ledger?
Material ledger, again, from Simple Finance point of view, yes, it has been changed. And from logistics point of view, material ledger will be mandatory. Okay, so earlier it was optional, but now material ledger is something which will be mandatory. So even if you don't want to use it functionally, yes, technically it has to be activated.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, I think that probably should be okay, I think, as of now. So let me check with Krishna or Sana about that, and then probably. So tomorrow at what time do you have the call?
Same time, 8:30 IST.
8:30 IST. Okay, so it's only on Saturdays and Sundays, correct?
Yes, only on weekends.
And like, how many hours are you basically thinking of doing it?
It will be around 30 hours.
Around 30. So let's say in a week, basically you are generally doing how much? 3 or 4?
Around 3 to 4. So sometimes it depends upon the topic actually. So initially it will be around 1.5 hour session on Saturday and 1.5 on Sunday, but later on it can go up to 2 hours.
So mostly it's a 2-month course, like 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yes, I think around 45 days to 2 months.
Okay, okay, fine. So another question which I had was, so is there any still SAP module which is not in S4HANA?
No. It is not like that. See, modules, all the modules you'll find in SAP S4HANA. Whatever you had in ECC, all the modules are available in SAP S4HANA. Only the thing is whether a particular module has been simplified or it is available as it is. So if I talk from FICO point of view, MM, SD, PP, there are some functionalities which are simplified. On the other hand, some of the sub-modules like PS, for example, PM, plant maintenance. So there are not much functionalities which are simplified, which means they are available as they were available in ECC.
Okay, so let's say SRM. SRM?
Yeah, so SRM, if you talk about, SRM is still available as a separate component, which you need to install separately. Okay, but at the same time, the plan is from, let's say 1710 or maybe 1810 when they will come. So SRM, CRM, the plan is to bring those functionality also within the same component.
So a person, so let's say a company, if they have an ECC and an SRM hooked up to it, and if they want to move to S4HANA, can they still talk seamlessly to S4HANA, or they have to do some changes on the SRM side also?
No. They can use SRM as an additional component. They can integrate with a SAP S4 system, same as they were integrated in ECC.
Okay. So, have you heard anything about like SAP ETTP by any chance?
SAP ETTP, what exactly is that?
No, ATTP. A as an apple, T Tom, P as a Paris. ATTP. It's Advanced Track and Trace for Pharmaceuticals.
No, I think that is industry specific solution, right?
It's a pharma solution as such, but it's not an industry specific as such. It's for generally for pharma, but it's not a, so it again basically sits on a different server like an EWM or an SRM, and they also have an add-on component for ECC. So, so
No, I have not used that anytime.
No, it's not. Not everyone is using it. It's only for pharma manufacturers. It's mainly used for serial number generations and tracking and tracing a product, and mostly used by pharma manufacturing companies as such. Yeah. So okay. So in case you have not used, then that's fine. Because I just wanted to know, like since in 2020, I am assuming SAP basically wants everyone to move to S4HANA, right? Is that correct?
Not 2020. It is plan is 2025. So SAP came up with SAP S4 in 2015, and they given 10 years to migrate to SAP S4.
Oh, it's 10 years.
Yes.
Oh, I thought 2023 they wanted to withdraw support for ECC, isn't it?
No. 2025. They announced in 15 itself. 2015 itself.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, then. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Ashutosh. Yeah, any other questions?
Gaurav, is it like for every release we need to know whatever is changed, or is when they will be freezing all the changes like that?
No, it will take time. See, as of today, as I told you, 15.11 and 16.10, these are the two versions available. So going forward, whatever changes will come, they like as of now it is in the developing stage. So it may happen that in 17.10 this SAP will bring some new changes. So I'm not saying it is must for you to know all these changes, but at least if you know the basics, like for example, before you talk about the functionality, simplified functionalities, you need to understand what this component is all about, what SAP S4HANA is all about, and slowly you need to gradually talk about what has been changed compared to 16.10. So it is not like many functionalities will change when you compare 16.10 with 17.10. But if you know already what has been changed in 1610 on the partial functionality, you need to take it and you need to understand, okay, this has been changed from the 1710 point of view. But definitely, till the time you don't know what is new in 1710, it will not make any sense if you directly go on to 1710 project. 1610, yes, whatever you will be understanding from this course, 1610 you will be able to understand completely. But 1710, you need to again go back through the some of the documentations which will be provided by SAP. I'll provide you that link also, which will give you the total information of what has been changed compared to the different versions.
And regarding the account determination, I hope in 1610 there are few changes for access sequence, something like that.
Access sequence is only for the pricing. The changes which are made, they are changed from the pricing point of view. So they are calling it as a simplified pricing, which means earlier up to 99 accesses were allowed. Now they are allowing 999 accesses within the access sequence.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gaurav, this is Siddharth. I have one question. Like, I'm working in SAP HANA side, like in the enterprise HANA side, enterprise and native and both. So, this is SAP S4 HANA. How you're taking the data to the SAP HANA? Like the modeling part of view. Like, we can take it the same like SLT part or something in the third party.
Sorry. Can you just come back? The last thing that you told?
Yeah. Yeah, like from S4 HANA, then how we're taking the data to the SAP HANA site, SAP HANA database. As you are telling, because it is S4 HANA simplified, it's the data is storing in the SAP HANA itself, right?
Yes.
And then how we are going to take the data, like in the SAP HANA site?
No, I'm not able to understand how we are taking the data to SAP HANA side. See, it is
Yes, yes.
the HANA database itself. Whenever you do the transaction, directly data is getting stored in SAP HANA itself. So there is no question of transferring the data to SAP HANA. Data is going to be stored in HANA itself.
Then how are you creating the view? Suppose like example, like we are creating the attribute view analytic view, then how are you creating that?
No, see, whatever views you will be creating, that you will be creating as a Z, because whatever views are provided by SAP, they are already available.
Okay, okay. In the S4 HANA itself, already there's a predefined everything is there, right?
Yes. Most of the views, like whatever we are talking about, the views are directly available on SAP S4HANA. You don't need to create it from scratch.
Okay, so in S4 HANA, is there any like the CDS view is there like in the ancestor?
Yes. What has happened is many tables are converted as CDS views. So earlier, which were used to be as a tables, now they are converted as a CDS views.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's close today and we'll meet again tomorrow at 8:30. So if you have any doubts, maybe you can ask in tomorrow's session also. Thank you all. Thank you for joining today's session. Bye.